The motion is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
Republicans have just enacted a tax law that critics say will widen America's already massive income inequality gap.
I think of two big sets of causes of income inequality. The first is the pre-tax stuff, the stuff that affects how much you make before taxes come out. That's globalization, it's deregulation, it's technology. Those forces have caused pre-tax inequality to go way up. Unfortunately, the tax code has also exacerbated that.
David Leonhardt is an opinion writer at the New York Times who covers economic policy. He says the gap between the haves and the have-nots has been widening to extreme proportions.
In the 1950s and the 1960s, income inequality was falling. The poor and the middle class were getting larger pay increases than the rich.
By the 1980s, the bottom 90% of earners owned 35% of the country's wealth, while the top 1% controlled only 24%. Today, that's reversed. The top 1% own nearly 40% of the country's wealth, while the bottom 90% control just 27%.
Income inequality is the gap between what the rich are earning and what everyone else is earning. And one of the dominant features of the U.S. economy over the last 40 or 50 years is that it has been growing a lot.
While other countries also struggle with income inequality, they soften the blow by offering things like universal health care, job retraining programs, child care benefits, and free education. Meanwhile, the U.S. isn't as generous. And Leonhardt says the new tax law will likely widen the income inequality gap.
Their tax cuts are small, their tax cuts are temporary, and the bill will increase the deficit, which means that long-term the government will have to find spending cuts to make up for the deficit, and those spending cuts to programs like schools, Medicare, Social Security are likely to hurt the middle class.